today's video, and you really should have, on the VW ID Polo, and you thought it sounded all a little bit sensible. Well, I think I've got the answer for that. It's this, the Cupra Raval. It's like an ID Polo, but with a bit more jalapeno in the recipe. And today, we actually get to drive it. So does it stack up? Well, we're about to find out.
So you've got the VW MEB Plus platform shared by the ID Polo, the slightly taller VW ID Cross and the Skoda Epiq. The Epiq is the value for money one, the Cross the more practical, and the Polo the sensible choice, which leaves space for Cupra to be the spicy little tearaway.
And they might all be the same car, but the Raval definitely has a little bit more grrr about it, less sensible shoes and more funky trainers vibe. Also, Cupra appears to have all of the best colours. This is a kind of matte army green, and it is choice. From the front, the Raval does look way more aggressive than the ID Polo, and it's got all of Cupra's kind of obsession with triangles. So you've got a triangular badge, you've got triangular lights with triangular elements, you've got triangular vents down here, which are actually air curtains that smooth airflow over the front tyres. You've got triangular elements down here, triangular things in here, and also there are air curtains that are electrically movable in this grille to aid with either aero efficiency or a bit more performance. It's interesting that this car actually feels more aggressive than the Big Brother Born, like it might be the faster version. It's a toddler with a knuckle duster.
Whether it is actually faster, I'm getting there, stop looking at me like that. But Cupra's design language has always leaned heavily into this kind of geometric drama, and on a smaller car like this, it actually works better than I thought it would. It gives the Raval a look that means business, and definitely more angry than the other VW-based products. Around the sides, you'll notice the chunky wheel arches and strong lines. Look how this feature line sweeps up and back to the bottom of this window line and this flicky little shark fin, this pod bit that houses the rear lights.
And then there are the wheels, up to 19 inches depending on spec, with these little aero inserts, which is quite ambitious for a small electric hatchback, but visually I think this car pulls it off. And then at the back, I think it's actually quite clean, but still interesting. It's got this sort of double bubble sculpted spoiler on the rear roof. It's got a full width light bar because it's 2026, so of course it has, with a little glowy triangular Cupra badge. And then down below, it's got these kind of sculpted bits in the side, which I think look quite interesting. And then this kind of Venturi element, which I don't think does much Venturing. Anyway, this is kind of based on a city car, so it's not going to need much downforce parked in Asda's car park. But if you want a proper forensic detailed look at the outside, go and watch Ginny's walk around video, which you can find on the internet. But do you know what? I actually really quite like it. In a world where a lot of small EVs look like mobile anti-anxiety drugs, this looks like it might actually raise your heart rate. It's got personality. Or possibly an attitude problem, I just haven't decided yet. Once you get on the inside, my mild surprise and delight just keeps on coming. I used to have a first generation Cupra Born, and this is just better, honestly. Sometimes it can feel a little bit dark, but there are some lovely bits of design, colour, textures and materials. Shout out immediately to these really nice bucket seats, which are supremely comfortable, and they're made of a really weird but slightly tactile 3D printed kind of knitted material. I'm over 6 foot tall, I'm quite chunky, but the way you address the wheel feels very comfortable. It's very ergonomic and much bigger than you think. There's a decent sized driver's display up front. It's really clean, it's really clear. It's also quite angular, so it feels like it's got that Cupra vibe. And then this big touchscreen here, which doesn't feel too big. It's kind of the right size for this size of car, and that's Android OS powered. And then there is a little haptic bar underneath here for the temperature and the volume for the radio, because you don't want to be changing the temperature through 3 submenus when you're approaching a roundabout. Do you get the feeling that I'm not a massive fan of everything being on the screen?
I used to have that Born, don't forget, and sometimes that felt like it actually had electronic dementia. But this is all very much improved.
There's still a fairly trad layout to all the things that you use in terms of the touchscreen, but it seems to be better in terms of hierarchy than previous VW group efforts. I know that's not a high bar, but it is better, and everything seems to work when you press it. Some of these screens sometimes can not react when you press them, so you end up pressing them 3 or 4 times, which is useless. And then we've got like nicely anodized bits, and everything is a little bit green, like the exterior colour, which feels really like they've thought about the interior relating to the outside. Even this little sort of trim strip across here is 3D printed and hollow and flexible, which is a stupid thing, but I really like. And then all across the dash, obviously, it's got like scaling, but it's Cupra's triangular theme. Then there's wireless charging in the middle, there's cup holders, bit of space under a cover in the middle. Generally though, I just feel like this car has everything I need. I was driving it earlier and it has got quite a few steering wheel buttons, which makes you sort of a little bit confused at first. But when you're on the road and you know where everything is, you can press them by feel. You don't have to look down. So the touchscreen just displays things that you don't need while driving. Most of it you can operate from this wheel. And yes, there is a roller control for the volume for the stereo, which is just brilliant. Now obviously the Raval comes with all the mandated safety features like lane keep assist and blind spot assist and emergency braking and all of that stuff. But this car, in some of the specs, also has predictive and adaptive cruise control and remote control parking from your smartphone, and that's both parallel and perpendicular, which is a small car with really big car features. Although I did notice, speed bump, that some of the cars might not come with heated seats and heated wheel as standard, so do your research. But there's loads of little nice bits about the Raval. It's got all the usual kind of mood lighting, which incorporates things like the blind spot assist, and you can change it to any colour you want, and it's all very nice. But it's also got these little projectors down here in the sides of the dash, which project a light signature pattern on the door cards. Again, that is entirely pointless, but I really like it.
Rear space is fine. This is still a compact car, not a TARDIS, so Cupra can't actually change space-time, but it'll do.
Until you open the boot, which makes you think maybe they did. Now, this is a small car, city car, and this boot is enormous. Apparently this is 441 litres, and I sort of gauge whether a boot's big or not based on what a Golf is, which is 380. And it's quite versatile, like it's got a movable boot floor, and when you take that out, which is easier than I'm making it look, you've got masses of space. This one's got the tyre inflation kit and the subwoofer for the big stereo, but this is huge.
Overall, the interior strikes a nice balance. It's sporty without being silly, premium without being pretentious, and it's got good materials and it's modern without making you feel like you need an IT degree to turn on the heated seats.
Because what we're really interested in is actually this bit, the driving, because if this isn't any better and it doesn't stand up to the sporty billing, then this is just an ID Polo doing Hell's Angels cosplay because it looks all aggressive. It needs to stand up. Now this is the top spec VZ on the 19-inch wheels in V2 trim, or this might even be an Extreme. And you know what? It's all right. It's got 226 horsepower. And this is a car that is only just over 4 meters long. So back in my day, 226 brake in a car this size would be loads. And it's good enough for 0 to 62 miles an hour in 6.8 seconds, which these days is kind of warm hatch territory. But it's actually really good fun. I'm really enjoying myself straight away. Interestingly, we've just been driving this car through Barcelona rush hour traffic, and it feels a lot punchier away from the lights than you expect, and it just feels perky. It's not devastatingly fast, but it feels like it gets down the road really quickly. But this isn't just about beating mopeds away from traffic lights, because this is the sportiest version of the Raval, and it's got lots of little tricks to just give it that edge. So this car is 10 millimeters wider in the track, it's 15 millimeters lower. It's got an electronic limited slip diff, so it shouldn't spin horsepower away on a big corner.
And it's got dynamic chassis control, DCC, so you can make this more comfortable or more sporty, depending on what you want. But do you know what? It really does work. The e-diff's really good. So if I turn it into this tight corner and plant throttle, it just pulls the car straight. It's actually more nimble and fleeter-footed than you expect from a little EV. It's not got a massive battery, so it's not throwing weight around. But the thing to remember is that these higher trim cars are the only ones that get all those tweaks. Other Ravals, lower in the ranges, are only ID Polos basically that look like Ravals. So if you want this extra sporty feeling, you've got to have the quicker version with the 226 brake.
It's not desperately sharp, and on these smooth Spanish roads just outside Barcelona, it rides very well, but we'll have to drive it in the UK to really deliver a final verdict. But for a warm hatch, it's fun and not scary. It doesn't ever feel like it's going to bite, even when you turn everything up to 11 and switch off the stability control. In town, it's easy with light steering at low speeds and good visibility. Parking sensors, cameras and all the usual assist will help you avoid embarrassing encounters with bollards and curbs. And the Regen works fine. And then on the bigger roads, it seems to settle nicely, but there's a little bit of road noise at higher speeds. Small car, big wheels, it is kind of part of the package.
And there's things like you can turn off the electronic stability control, which is unusual in an EV. And it's got an e-launch function. So it's got launch control, which again, you don't expect. You can only use them, obviously, on a closed course and with a supervising adult. But the fact that they're actually in the electronics makes me think that the people that were engineering this car wanted it to be good fun. The steering is too light. That's the one thing I would say. It needs a bit more feel, even in performance mode. But there's a lot to like about the Raval. It's a bit like a Mini in a lot of ways. It handles and feels a bit like a Mini, but it's got more ride comfort. I have to say, it's one of those cars that makes you feel right straight away. I am impressed with how fun it feels. And if Cupra is saying that this is a little bit rebellious and it's a little bit spicier than the other versions of this platform, on immediate impressions, I completely believe them. This is a good laugh. This isn't just about being a city car or going from A to B. It's also about enjoying the bit in between, which I think this car is capable of.
Now let's talk about the bit that really matters in an EV, how far it goes before it starts looking nervously at charging stations. The Raval comes with a choice of two batteries, a 37.5 kWh LFP unit and a 52 kWh NMC. The base is called the Raval Origin, and that gets 116 horsepower, around 186 miles of range and only 50 kilowatts of DC charging, meaning 33 minutes 10 to 80%, so that one feels like the home charge only version for townies. The versions then run through a variety of options and power outputs to the longest range. That's the Raval V1 with the bigger 52 kWh battery and 211 horsepower, which has 277 miles of range and 105 kilowatts of DC charging. And then there's our VZ, which gets 226 horsepower and 273 miles of range. Not as much of a range difference and the same 24-minute 10 to 80%. They all get 11 kilowatts of AC charging and vehicle to load for powering up other stuff, and they all get apps and heated seats are only on the higher grades. To be honest, efficiency should be pretty good. Smaller, lighter EVs tend to make better use of their energy and materials, and the Raval is no exception. Yes, you can have bigger ranges, but when is enough for a city car?
So, the Cupra Raval. Genuinely, I'm really keen on it. I love the spunky nature of the VZ, but I don't think I'd use an e-diff and DCC in town, which is likely where this thing is going to spend most of its time. I think I'd be more tempted by something like the 201 brake horsepower version with the big battery that does the most range, but that doesn't get all the tricksy bits. I'm glad that the fast one exists, but I'd probably be more practical. But this is a really good interpretation of the recipe from Cupra. It feels like it's got a defined character and something to really shout about. And we know that character works in this segment. Think about Renault's 4 and 5. They've got charm. They know what they are. Now the base Raval starts at 23,785 and works up from there. And I think it's just one of those cars that's got a bit of gumption.
In fact, a nicely spec'd straight 210 horsepower V2, probably our choice, will be 32,580 quid, so not peanuts for the one you want. But that won't get all the go faster bits, don't forget.
There are cars out there that don't stand out. The Cupra Raval is not one of them.
So that's it for this review of the Cupra Raval. Let us know what you think. Would you go for this over something like a Renault 5 or an ID Polo? It's just got that little bit more complicated to choose. And if you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that fake bell. It's contractual.